So they told me there was 25 Syrian refugee families in this one area of Chicago where I had been working with Hasidic and Orthodox Jewish children, trying to get more conservatives, culturally and religiously conservatives, into dance. They were dancing, but mostly in isolation. And how can we get more conservatives and liberals together through dance? And so when I found out that there was 25 Syrian refugee families in the same neighborhood, in one of the 3 neighborhoods of Chicago that voted red, in a contentious neighborhood where people don't look each other in the eye, especially Muslims and Arabs, and for the most unwelcoming year for Syrian refugees in this country, I quickly said, how can we organize as a community to quickly, within, I think it was 5 weeks, get them in the recital. So we started with a dance recital with costumes, and now they're integrated into regular arts programming. We have 9 children, and we have Jewish and Muslim conservative teens working together on a collaborative project, and also English classes for parents happening in the lobby. And it's starting to grow and grow with musicians and other people getting in on the project. In Bosnia, I worked with a man who told me that the project had to work on a field. And I said, there's a community center right there. It's beautiful. And he says, the doors are always locked. Please lock the doors, and it has to happen on this field. I said, the field is muddy. It has holes in it. And it's within eyesight of 2 mass graves. I would prefer not to dance in the field. And he said, we must dance in the field. That's where our families were separated. That's where the genocide began. If we're going to heal, we're going to dance in this field. We danced in the field. There was 300 children in the program. And sometimes for many of the families, it was the first time for the parents to share public space in the audience. He grabbed my arm at one point and said one of the mans at the end of the line was a guard, where he was in the concentration camp, and now they're watching both of their sons perform. And then these students are here. Woo! We're quickly going through projects, so your picture's here. This is a little bit closer. This is Purchase students going into Yonkers. So the Dance Conservatory, I was told to do outreach, but I don't do outreach. We do collaboration. So we learned from local artists, both youth and adult artists. We learned their needs. We collaborated on site-specific work in areas of contentiousness based in the land of gentrification of waterfront Yonkers, and danced on the properties that most likely will not be there in a couple months, and how can we dance to celebrate those stories and spaces together. And we also did workshops, but we also took workshops from the local artists as our peers and had lunch with them every day. It was great. So what do? I do dance intervention that's relative to both the assets and the needs of a certain time, place, and population, so it can take the form of anything, depending on what's most appropriate. I'm a citizen, I'm not an altruist. I'm a partner, I'm not an expert. I'm a catalyst, I'm not community-based, and nor do I do outreach. I believe in cultural equity. Sometimes that means diversity of voices, sometimes that means a redistribution of resources, sometimes that means greater prosperity for certain parts of our population, and sometimes that's leaving room for self-determination in this culture. I believe that we're human rights workers. If you make sure you read Article 27, it's all about the arts. Human rights are very important. Also, what I do is track 3 diplomacy, people-to-people diplomacy. Also, what I do is important that it's in intergroup contact, and I also live and work in the place of living and dying. And what I mean by that, for example, I've worked in a couple different children's cancer hospitals, and I've worked in areas of potential and current violence. And by violence, I mean physical violence. I also mean cultural and institutional violence. And the face of children who are at war are also the faces of children who are battling. When you're told to battle, you're battling your cancer, right? It's a battle, it's a fight, you're a fighter, you're brave. And the same faces that I see on the south side of Chicago, those who are fighting gang violence, neighborhood violence. It's the face of always being a fighter. And so the children are trying to live in that, finding a way to live, but also finding a way to die when death is certain. So I've worked in palliative care, I've worked in hospice as well for children and families who know that death is a part of what they're dealing with, and how can we dance both in living till you die, but also dance to help you in the dying process. And that has continued from the hospital to streets to even other areas of violence. So that's sort of, I come in quick, it's an intervention, it's long-term in that it is to propel, to be a catalyst for those local artists, to spark enough change that people can organize around that and their own ideas. It's not about my ideas, I'm not the expert. So I also try to promote other people, so I do a lot of resources and blogging. That's the only reason I put my name up there.com, is just because I try to do as much resource sharing as possible. And on createequity.com, I'm just proposing that. We do a lot of research, especially on areas of cultural equity and equity for access to the arts.